things are a real conversation starter.
No, Coach, this is not a conversation starter.
You see these awful napkins?
Yeah, they stink.
See what I mean? The place is abuzz.
Cheers was the kind of show where lightning often struck twice, thanks to quick-witted actors and live audiences. Some of its biggest laughs and hardest-hitting moments grew out of wild improvisation or happy accidents. Here are the 15 all-time greatest times Cheers actors flew off script, making sitcom history in the process. Number 1. The pool table disaster from Cheers. Let's go back to a Boston bar where everybody knew your name, and absolutely nobody could predict what might happen next. It was season 2 of Cheers, the year was 1983, and Ted Danson, playing the ever-charming Sam Malone, stepped up for what should have been a simple pool shot. But in a flash of true unpredictability, Danson misjudged the shot so thoroughly that the cue ball leapt straight off the table. The cast's reaction was real. Stifled giggles turned to full-on belly laughs as the chaos played out in front of rolling cameras. Instead of calling cut, directors kept the footage. It was too perfect, too raw, too much like the real-life energy of a bustling bar. Mistakes like that gave Cheers its lived-in feel and let audiences believe these weren't just actors on a set, but friends sharing clumsy, unpredictable nights at the place where they belonged. The echo of laughter in that moment carried long past closing time, reminding us that sometimes the best scenes are the ones nobody could script. Number 2. 15 times Cheers actors went off script, and it was perfect. You could almost taste the tension when Sam Malone and Diane Chambers danced around a kiss on Cheers. Ted Danson and Shelley Long brought more than just acting. They brought genuine, unscripted magic. Their chemistry was so intense that, more often than not, snappy one-liners and heated quips were born on the spot, far from the pages of the script. In those smoky backroom Boston bar scenes, editors noticed that these off-script moments, from lingering looks to that split-second hesitation before almost touching lips, sparked the on-again, off-again fire viewers craved. Set in 1982 on NBC, the show became a prime-time favorite, partly because producers had the guts to keep these unrehearsed raw bits. Sam's sly grin or Diane's flustered retort, unscripted, felt as nerve-tingling as eavesdropping on real love. These flashes of authenticity made every almost kiss linger, fueling the greatest will they or won't they on television. Those scenes left audiences breathless, eager for whatever came next through the barroom doors. Number 3. Norm's Barstool wisdom from Cheers. The hum of after-work chatter, the clink of mugs. Cheers was never quieter than when Norm dropped one of his off-the-cuff zingers. George Wendt, who played the beloved barfly, made a habit out of tossing aside the script in favor of sharp, spontaneous wit. Some of the best advice and punchlines that Norma delivered, especially those volleyed back and forth with Carla or Cliff, were never committed to paper. Wendt and his castmates gave these moments a lived-in magic. He'd quip about marriage, work, or the price of beer, and somehow his lines always felt like they belonged in your uncle's best stories. Sometimes the writers even left space in the script, trusting Wendt to riff his way to gold. From 1982 to 1993, Norm's Barstool philosophy shaped the show's heartbeat, turning even tossed-off asides into iconic lines. Every time he entered to that famous chorus of Norm, you knew wisdom and laughter were about to collide. And just as quickly, the moment would pass, leaving you smiling, maybe a bit wiser, and more than ready for what came next. Number 4. Coach's forgetful blunders from Cheers. A ringing phone in the background, the laughter of regulars, and there was Coach, Nicholas Colasanto, all heart and lovable confusion. On Cheers, starting in 1982, Colasanto brought the bumbling bartender Coach Pantuso to life. But here's the secret. Some of those hilarious, forgetful quips were not in the script. Colasanto, sometimes losing his place during scenes, would ad-lib with a stunned, huh? Or respond to a missed cue with an off-the-cuff line. Instead of editing these genuine moments out, the crew leaned in, letting his ad-libs shape Coach's warmth and innocence. Fans remember lines that felt spontaneous, because they truly were. Coach's endearing blank looks or random outbursts were Colasanto's real-time reactions, the kind of authenticity you can't script. By embracing these slip-ups, Cheers turned human imperfection into TV gold, making the bar feel honest, unpredictable, and a little closer to home. As the camera panned to Coach's bewildered smile, audiences never knew if they were watching an actor or the real thing, and that's what made Cheers magical. Up next, let's see who else found brilliance in breaking breaking the rules. Number 5. Sam's cheesy pickup lines from Cheers. Was there ever a moment more cringeworthy or more lovable than when bartender Sam Malone laid on the charm at Cheers? But here's the thing, not every pickup line that soared or crashed out of Sam's mouth was on the script. Ted Danson, playing Sam from 1982 through the show's final season in 1993, mastered the art of the improvised, hopelessly cheesy pickup. Faced with lines that sometimes felt flat, Danson would slyly slip in a ridiculous, self-mocking jab or groan-worthy punchline. It was improv that made Sam more than just a one-note ladies' man. The character's charm came as much from his flubs as his triumphs. When he tripped over his own bravado, flashing that sheepish grin across the bar, the audience got to see the funny, vulnerable side of Boston's favorite bartender. Like the time he asked a patron, "Do you believe in love at first sight? Or should I walk by again?" and ad-libbed a wink. In those unscripted seconds, you remembered, sometimes the best laughs come from what you never meant to say. And next up, an even bigger dose of TV magic. Let's pause for a second. Did you ever try a pickup line from a TV show? Or groan when you heard a truly awful one? Drop your funniest or most awkward line in the comments and let's share a laugh. Number 6. Cliff's Postman Trivia. Tangents from Cheers. There was no conversation too small for Cliff Clavin to hijack with a rambling bit of postal trivia. John Ratzenberger, who played the lovable mail carrier on Cheers, became famous for spinning out improvised monologues that left his fellow cast members and the live studio audience in stitches. The writers might have scripted Cliff to respond with a short line, but Ratzenberger couldn't resist adding bizarre tidbits. One night, he launched into a wild claim about how the color of stamps could predict weather patterns. Another time, he swore that zip codes revealed the original 13 colonies. Some of these off-the-cuff facts were so unexpected that they pushed Ted Danson or Rhea Perlman to break character, hiding their laughter behind a sip of beer. Cheers, which debuted in 1982 on NBC, was already sharp, but Cliff's ad-lib tangents added an extra fizz, keeping viewers guessing and grinning. Even decades later, you can close your eyes and hear his voice rattling off another postal oddity, proof that sometimes the best comedy happens when you let an actor follow his own thread. Now let's see who else dared to veer off the script. Number 7. It's closing time. Bar call from Cheers. Picture the warm glow of the Cheers bar sign flickering as the credits roll, but the real magic happens after the director yells cut. In the early years of Cheers, which first aired in 1982 on NBC, the cast developed a quirky ritual. When filming wrapped, Ted Danson, Rhea Perlman, George Wendt, and the rest would belt out improvised last call shouts, sometimes singing, sometimes laughing, always off the wall. The tradition started quietly, just friends cutting loose after long shoots, but it became infectious. Now and then, the writers left these improvised calls in an episode, rewarding eagle-eyed regulars with a wink no script could plan. One night, Woody Harrelson hollered a wild bar chant so perfectly timed, it made the final cut untouched. These unscripted cheers captured the soul of the show. Familiar, unpredictable, and as warm as a favorite neighborhood bar. Before you knew it, these on-the-fly send-offs became a badge of honor, proof that Cheers felt as real to the actors as it did to you watching at home. The clink of imagined glassware still echoes as we close the tab and head to the next surprise. Number 8. Diane's Runaway Meltdown from Cheers. In the flickering neon of Cheers' cozy bar, you could always tell when Diane was about to blow. Shelley Long, cast as the endlessly complex Diane Chambers, brought a wild edge to her character's breakdowns, especially when filming her famous dramatic exits. Sometimes the scene called for tears, or a grand gesture, but Shelley would surprise her co-stars by hurling a rapid-fire insult or making a sharp, unscripted retort. Ted Danson, playing Sam, often had to stifle laughter in real time as the audience roared. It all happened on that iconic studio set in the early to mid-80s, where each take might veer off the script just enough to catch everyone off guard. One night in 1983, Shelley stormed out so fiercely, slamming her purse and growling an unexpected zinger, that you could feel her character's heartbreak pulse right through the screen. These improvisational gems didn't just make Diane memorable, they transformed her spirals into something unpredictable, raw, and deeply real. With every outburst, the line between actor and character blurred that much more, setting the stage for even more chaos just around the corner. Number 9. Frasier's Piano. Playing Mishap from Cheers. There is a certain joy in watching comedy unfold live, flaws and all. and no one played with those moments better than the cast of Cheers. One night in the Boston bar, Kelsey Grammer sat down at the piano as Frasier, fingers poised, ready to serenade the regulars. But instead of a smooth melody, Grammer struck the wrong chord. Loud, jangling, unmistakable. Instantly, he let his face crumple in mock tragedy, playing up the blunder, riffing in character with mock-serious theatrics. The audience howled, loving every second of his playful recovery. This wasn't in the script, but the showrunners saw Grammer's ability to laugh at himself and turn the mistake into a mini-performance. They kept the take, letting Cheers' real-time magic shine on air. In that 1980s bar, it was a reminder that perfect comedy often lives in the messiest notes. Laughter lingering, the story rolled on, never quite knowing what unscripted surprise might come next. Number 10. Lilith's snappy insult, comebacks from Cheers. There is something unforgettable about Lilith Sternon's perfectly frosty comebacks on Cheers. The magic? Many of those zingers were not in the script at all. Bebe Neuwirth, who brought Lilith to life starting in 1986, improvised some of the sharpest burns ever exchanged at the bar. Sparring with Kelsey Grammer's Frasier Crane, she delivered lines with such bone-dry precision that it raised the stakes of every encounter. Her wit sliced through the room like a cold draft on a Boston winter night. The writers knew a good thing when they heard it. Instead of cutting her ad-libbed one-liners, they let them shine, adding tension and realness to Lilith and Frasier's complicated chemistry. That icy delivery, those raised eyebrows, they all became signatures, thanks in part to Neuwirth's quick instincts. It is no wonder some of her best improvised moments made it into classic episodes and onto every fan's list of unforgettable Cheers scenes. Sometimes the sharpest lines are born in the moment, making the bar feel all too real. Let's see what other surprises this legendary cast had in store. Number 11. Woody's improvised I'm Woody Boyd introduction from Cheers. You can almost see it. A young Woody Harrelson, freshly arrived in Boston's friendliest bar, standing behind the counter in that famous first episode of Cheers Season 4. Nervousness flickered across his face, and for good reason. Harrelson, cast as Woody Boyd in 1985, had actually lost his place in the script mid-scene, but instead of breaking character, he owned the stumble, letting his real nerves double as the new bartender's awkward earnestness. The other actors caught on instantly, riffing with him, and suddenly the moment felt alive. In that unscripted beat, Woody's endearing innocence clicked into place, bringing a new spark just when the show needed it. Rather than a flub, it was improv gold, and the audience loved it. That genuine, off-kilter humor stayed with the character for years, proof of how a dropped line can transform a role. And a sitcom classic. With that, Cheers found its next beloved regular, and TV history got a little more charming. Number 12. Sam's sudden dance moves from Cheers. Picture this. The lights of the Cheers bar are soft, and the usual hum is missing its spark. During a late taping in Season 4, the cast and crew felt it too. A lull in the room, the live audience a bit too subdued. That's when Ted Danson, as Sam Malone, sized up the moment and decided to shake things up. He slipped into a goofy, totally unscripted dance behind the bar, shaking his hips and grinning ear to ear. Instantly, laughter erupted from the crowd. The whole room seemed to inhale at once, then exhale with pure joy. This wasn't in any script, but Danson's quick instincts, honed after years in those Boston bar shoes, revived the energy and landed a comedy punch where it mattered most. Producers saw the magic, and that spontaneous shimmy made the final cut. It's a reminder that sometimes lightning strikes when someone dares to dance off-beat. The bar roared back to life, and the laughter echoed through the rest of the scene. Proof that unpredictability was part of Cheers' secret charm. Number 13. Norm's Beer Me, catchphrase from Cheers. Picture this. The clink of glasses in Boston, the low hum of laughter, and Norm, always in his usual spot at the bar. During Cheers' very first season in 1982, George Wendt tossed off a casual beer me that was nowhere in the original script. The moment was pure actor instinct. Norm just wanted a cold one, and the fans immediately loved it. The two words became a calling card for Norm, echoing through 11 seasons and more than 200 episodes. Writers took note. They trusted Wendt's easy charm, weaving the spontaneous phrase right into the show's fabric. That blend of improvisation and writerly trust helped shape Cheers' relaxed, lived-in vibe. Years later, ask fans for their favorite Norm moments, and many will recall the deadpan, hopeful beer me, a tiny phrase that made the bar feel like home. Sometimes the best lines bubble up from real life, unplanned and unforgettable, making the next story all the more surprising. Number 14. Carla's Outrage. During bar fights from Cheers, the clatter of glass, the tension in the air, whenever a brawl erupted at Cheers, Carla Tortelli was the storm at its center. Rhea Perlman, who brought Carla to glorious life from 1982 onward, often tossed aside her script during these wild scenes. She let loose with sharp-tongued ad-libs and unplanned bursts of rage, firing off lines that threw even seasoned co-stars for a loop. You could see the surprise flicker across Ted Danson's face or hear an unscripted gasp from the crowd at the bar. These weren't just fights. They were moments of chaotic, electric energy. Rhea's inventiveness made Carla's fury unpredictable, spicing every tightly choreographed dust-up with real danger and laughter. The writers knew she'd bring something extra, so they started building scenes just to showcase her comic improvisation. Without those off-script detonations, Carla wouldn't have become Cheers' unpredictable dynamo. You can almost hear the crash of a bar stool now. Feel the tension break into laughter. Next time you recall Cheers, remember who really stirred up the mayhem. Number 15. Cliff's giant potato theory from Cheers. Picture this. The bar is buzzing like usual, but suddenly Cliff Clavin, played by John Ratzenberger, is deep in an absolutely wild theory about Idaho's potatoes. This wasn't just any moment from Cheers, it was season 3, and what began as a throwaway cutaway joke spiraled into comedic gold. Ratzenberger took the simple setup and ran off the rails, improvising a long, hilarious monologue about the existence of giant potatoes hidden somewhere in Idaho. The writers loved it so much they let the cameras roll, not daring to interrupt such magic. Behind the scenes, crew members tried desperately not to burst out laughing, barely keeping composure as Cliff got more animated and absurd. It was a perfect showcase of the unpredictable, offbeat humor that made Cliff a fan favorite. Moments like this, when an actor veered gleefully from the script, are what made Cheers in 1982 and beyond so electric. Each episode felt alive, unpredictable, and utterly unique. Next time you rewatch, listen for the genuine laughter. Sometimes even the pros can't resist Cliff's charm.